something you need to know?
Someone has betrayed me.
Varys.
He knows the truth about John.
He does.